It shows huge promise in quite a few areas. So now we'll just get on to the last bit, which is the big question for a lot of people who are into sort of lifting and who are trying to gain mass in the long run. Will you lose muscle on a fast? What's going on, guys? It's Jacob, Sunday Lifters. In this video today, we're going to be covering fasting. I'm going to sort of go over methods of fasting, what the benefits are, and also answering the age-old question, am I going to lose muscle when I fast? Before I continue, just drop this video a like and comment. It all helps my algorithms and it is very much appreciated. So fasting is commonly deployed by people who are trying to lose weight. It's quite a common weight loss strategy, what we'll tend to find is people will usually go for something like a 16-8, which is basically 16 hours where they don't eat in the day and 8 hours where they do. Some people restrict it a bit more to sort of a 24 split, and sort of any variation around those ratios has tended to sort of be a popular option for people. It's something I have personally used whenever I do a cut. What we also see is people who will do a fast for like 2 days or 5 days. Some people even do a fast for a week. There's also things like fasting mimicking diets, where they'll tend to do the fast over a couple of days, but you might have like a bowl of vegetables at the end of the night just to sort of get some micronutrients in and sort of put a little bit of something into the body. So if you've never actually tried to do a fast before, I definitely recommend giving it a go. It sort of puts your body and your mind into a different sort of state. I tend to find that I think a lot clearer, my neurological function is a lot sharper when my body is actually, demanding food, when it's hungry. I'm entering sort of a fasted state or a like a prolonged period of time not eating. So like I say, I definitely, if you've tried to lose weight before and found it pretty difficult, but you've never deployed this strategy, give it a go, see what you think. It's definitely a challenge, but it feels like a good challenge. So as well as the weight loss benefits you get from fasting, there is also a myriad of health benefits you can also get from it. One thing that you do get from fasting, you'll go into a state of autophagy. Auto meaning self, and phagy or phagy in Greek meant devouring. So you basically enter in a state of self-devouring, which sounds bad on the face of it, but it's actually a really good thing. When we enter autophagy, what happens is our bodies enter a state of cleanup where you're basically going to get rid of any sort of dead cells and make way for new ones to be created. Any damaged cells that need repair are going to sort of are going to get that as well, making them more efficient. And it has a whole heap of benefits as well for your organs, but we'll touch a bit more on that later. So another area autophagy has shown great promise in is anti-aging. What you'll tend to find is, again, when you enter a state of autophagy, your body is going to sort of, like we say, create new cells, but also it's going to sort of clean up toxic proteins from cells which have been linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Because all cancers start off as sort of dysfunctional cells, what it's theorized will happen during autophagy is your body will sort of police all the cells in your body, and when there's a cancerous cell or like I say, a dysfunctional cell, it also will clean these up. Hypothetically, it makes absolute sense that this would happen. Of course, more study needs to be done in the area. It's not it probably wouldn't be responsible to say that is scientifically proven, but like I say, in theory it makes absolute sense given the sort of method of action we know autophagy sort of takes in the body. So as well as the benefit to sort of losing weight and subcutaneous fat, sort of the fat we know under the skin, We also have a sort of fat called visceral fat, which generally collects around the tissues like the organs in the body. Obviously, the big problem with visceral fat is it's not always able to be seen. Some people can get it to the point where, you know, you might actually be able to see, you know, if they're very low body fat but they have bad levels of visceral fat. This is where the sort of term, you know, thin on the outside, fat on the inside comes from. You can get a build-up of visceral fat around sort of the kidneys and the liver, to the point where, you know, you might actually sort of see that on somebody's body. That's quite bad, you know. But aside from that, the only really reliable ways of getting to know whether you've got visceral fat is getting a CT scan or an MRI. Now, if you live in the UK like me, where we have sort of a socialist healthcare system, of course you do have the option to go private, don't get me wrong, but of course, like the NHS won't, and rightly so, won't sort of give resources and give you an MRI in particular or a CT unless they think something's already wrong. It costs a lot of money, and those resources might be better spent on other patients. Totally understand that. However, if you want to sort of check this sort of stuff regularly in an attempt to sort of take preventative measures, which is what I always advise, you will have to go private, and you will have to pay a lot of money for these sort of scans, especially the MRI, which is the more accurate of the two. But you know that, you know, does health have a price? What's it worth to you? You have to make that decision. So visceral fat can build up on the organs and you know, sort of inflame the tissues. These proteins can inflame the tissues, which will cause the sort of blood vessels to tighten up, and then that can later on, you know, cause a sort of systemic rise in your blood pressure, which is obviously quite bad, and that is one of the main problems with visceral fat. If you really can't, you know, if you try to do a fast and you really can't do it, you're suffering with, you know, sort of bad hunger, you know, you're finding it's taking you away from your day, you can't focus on anything. I personally find the opposite, but you know, everyone's different. You might want to look into getting some appetite suppressants. I might do a video on some effective appetite suppressants in the future. Or if you can't do that, try going into looking into a ketogenic diet. This can sort of mimic the effects of a fast while still, you know, it's basically where you're using, you know, ketones as your main source of energy. It's sort of your body takes a different pathway to the usual route of sort of using glucose to fuel the body. During a ketogenic diet, you're actually still going to be, you know, eating a lot of fats. You're still going to be getting calories in, which is good if you can't cope with the sort of hunger. However, it isn't as effective as you know, a straight up fast. The main problem we find with a ketogenic diet is it is a little bit harder than a straight up fast to get into autophagy. It's not impossible, but it is harder. And you know, given what we've spoke about, autophagy has huge benefits, and ideally you'd want to be getting into that state maybe once every 3 months. If you really can be strict enough to do it, maybe even once every month. The kicker about autophagy is the amount of time you ideally want to be going on a fast to really, you know, and be sure you're entering that state is 48 hours of fasting. For a lot of people, that is going to be a real challenge, which is why I recommend you do it. It does challenge yourself, and you know, it has huge benefits for you. Obviously, the amount of time you'd have to fast to enter a state of autophagy does depend on your individual metabolism, but 48 hours is the sweet spot. You can be pretty sure if you've gone 48 hours, you have entered a state of autophagy. Like I say, some people go on a fast for a full week and they really reap the benefits of that sort of state you can get in. It's also going to, like I say, massively reduce visceral fat buildup on your organs. With the removal of that visceral fat from the organs, the organs are gonna, the tissues are gonna sort of rejuvenate. They're gonna, like I say, you're gonna have this clean up process, and it's just a really healthy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do, so you've got to weigh it up. I personally think fasting is really good, not just from a weight management perspective or strategy, but just from a health perspective as well. It shows huge promise in quite a few areas. So now we'll just get on to the last bit, which is the big question for a lot of people who are into sort of lifting and who are trying to gain mass in the long run. Will you lose muscle on a fast? Yeah, you will. But the thing is, it's not going to be that much. And if you go on a fast and you lose a little bit of muscle with your fat, what you're going to find is when you go back into training through muscle memory, if you're getting the sort of protein in, your diet is dialed in, you're getting your micronutrients, you're going to get back that muscle very quickly. It's really not worth worrying about, guys. And for those of you who maybe go to the extreme and do a fast for a week, yeah, you're going to lose a little bit more muscle, but it's just negligible stuff, guys. It's nothing to worry about. That for the amount of benefits you can see from going on an extended fast compared to the amount of muscle you will lose as opposed to just going in a slight deficit over a long period of time, I really don't think it's worth worrying about. It just depends what method works best for you, depending on your aims. Is your aim to get as big as possible, as quickly as possible, or is your aim sort of longevity? You know, you make the decision. As always, guys, I hope you found something in this video useful. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, helps the algorithms. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube and the little bell icon to stay up to date with what I'm doing. You can follow me on Instagram at Sunday Lifters. I'm now on Facebook at Sunday Lifters and at Twitter at Sunday Lifters. You can email me at sundaylifters@gmail.com for meal plans, workout plans, and online coaching. Cheers for tuning in again, guys, and I'll see you back here again soon.